a dialogue with North Korea. Let's bring in former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, another author of the upcoming book, Right Here, Right Now, Politics and Leadership in the Age of Disruption. Great title, Mr. Prime Minister. It's good to see you again.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I want to ask you about your book, certainly, but when you look at these pictures of the president stepping down in Singapore, about to meet with North Korea's dictator, what's your reaction?
Look, I was just in the region, and, you know, I think President Trump gets a lot of credit for bringing it this far. It's been an interesting use of carrots and sticks. That said, I'm not telling you anything that would surprise you in saying that allies in the region are pretty skeptical of the North Koreans. So we'll see what happens, but it's an interesting development.
Just the fact that he got to the table has to be seen as a positive, right? I mean, there's a lot to do, obviously. Do you believe that we could actually see denuclearization?
You know, my own time in office, I learned to be quite a skeptic of the North Koreans. But here they are at the table, and President Trump's made it clear he's not going to accept a half deal or a weak deal. So let's hope something comes of it.
So what's your take on the conversations that have been taking place around trade? Yeah. It looked like an icy relationship there between the president and Justin Trudeau, the new Canadian Prime Minister, because of failed talks over NAFTA. What should a NAFTA deal look like? What are your thoughts around this?
Look, I tell people that, you know, we try and understand, in Canada, we try and understand the American perspective. I can understand why President Trump, why the American people feel they need some better trade relationships. You know, if they wanted to take on the relationship with China, even some aspects of the relationship with Mexico around autos, I'd be, you know, the first person telling our government to be a partner in those things, because I think Canada shares those concerns. I don't understand the obsession with, you know, trade relations with Canada. Not only is the trade deficit with Canada small, the United States runs a current account surplus with Canada. Canada is the biggest single purchaser of U.S. goods and services in the world. It's not China, it's not Mexico, it's not Britain, it's not Germany, it's Canada. So, you know, it just seems to me this is the wrong target. And, you know, from what I understand of American public opinion, I don't think even Trump supporters think the Canadian trade relationship is a problem.
Could it be that it's so different from what we have with Mexico, and he can't get a deal between the three together, so maybe a bilateral is better? Because in order to do a new deal with Canada on NAFTA, you got to have Mexico agreeing to it. I mean, could that be it?
Look, I'm not in a position to try and direct the trade negotiations of the government of Canada. All I say is this, that this is a vitally important relationship that we have between Canada and the United States. And, you know, look, when I was in office with President Bush, with President Obama, from time to time we had disagreements on issues. With President Obama, we disagreed on the Keystone Pipeline. Ultimately, President Trump made a great decision on that. But, you know, the important thing is...
You stood tall on that. You were strong on that. You got a lot of pushback from the Obama team. I remember that.
Well, look, and that's fair enough. But what we did do, what Canadian presidents and prime ministers, Canadian prime ministers, American presidents have done in the past, is that when we've had those disagreements, we keep those disagreements isolated to the issues we're disagreeing with, because on other things, you know, international issues of security, of frankly economic relationships and trade, of democracy and values, we're on the same page. We're the closest partners in the world, and you don't want to see a dispute over one particular issue poison everything.
Well, what about an idea around autos, something different there? The idea of origination. Where should the car originate in terms of production? That's where the jobs are. That's one of the things this president has been pushing. Would that be something that you believe could be tinkered with? You
know, look, as I said before, I think there's lots of opportunity for Canada and the United States to partner on areas where we share basic trade concerns. I think in, you know, the case of the auto sector, I worked with the Bush and Obama administrations to help bail out that sector during the global financial crisis. Then the sector starts moving to Mexico. I think that's a concern we both share. But, you know, I don't see any fundamental problem in the Canadian-American trade relationship. This is a more or less balanced relationship, and one that's vitally important to businesses and consumers on both sides of the border, and one that Trump supporters have no problem with.
Yeah, I want to take a short break. When we come back, I want to ask you about the G7 meeting. You've been at these meetings before, and the president made a remark about Russia. The one I got to get your take on that. We'll be right back with former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, get his reaction to the president saying that Russia should be reinstated.